Welcome to the Munro Review, where it's all about connecting, sharing, and valuing the arts in the central San Joaquin Valley. I'm Donald Munro. Today is June 28th, and we're going to be talking about the busy art scene in July. Now, this episode is a musical theater special with a focus on two big openings. There's Memphis at Reedley's River City Theater Company and Fun Home at Stageworks Fresno. In just a few minutes, our coverage includes a road trip to Reedley and a musical performance from Stageworks. But first, let's recap some of what I've been covering on MunroReview.com. Summer is a big time for theater, of course, and I reviewed several shows. Two of them are still playing. Woodward Shakespeare Festival opened its 14th season with Othello. It's a compelling production. Director Arlene Schulman stages it in Shakespeare's original time and setting, and Brooke Ayeo's impressive period costumes help make it sparkle. My favorite actor is Casey Ballard, who gives us a world-weary, razor-sharp Iago. There are some weak points in the show involving the diction of some of the actors, and there is some uneven acting. But these hard-working thespians make it a solid production overall. Othello runs through July 7th. Also continuing is the Good Company Players production of Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, by now an old standard. I've long been a sucker for this silly, warm-hearted show, and this production is one of my favorites out of the many versions I've seen. Especially strong is Tim Smith as Joseph and Heather Price as the narrator, both with stirring voices. And director Robert Sanchez has thrown in some clever contemporary references. Did you know that Amazon Prime ships to Old Testament Canaan? The show continues through July 15th. I also reviewed an intriguing play at the Vista Theater, directed by Kate McKnight, titled Circle Mirror Transformation. It's set in an amateur acting class, and the script, by Annie Baker, expertly dunks us in the ordinary lives of its complicated characters. A tip of the hat to Vista for bringing such challenging theatrical fare to the Valley. In other coverage, you can read an interview I did with composer Mason Lamb, whose new piece Solstice had its world premiere at Disney Hall as part of the annual FUSA Fresno Summer Orchestra Academy. I updated you on Children's Musical Theater Works, which has received a one-year extension from the city of Fresno on using the Veterans Memorial Auditorium. It will now be there through at least 2019. And I told you more about The Lion King, which put on a big pre-show party for invited guests in anticipation of the coming national tour. You can read these stories and more on MunroReview.com. Now, I'm excited to introduce something new for this show, a story done on location. I went with producer Kyle Lowe and assistant Brandon Lowe to beautiful downtown Reedley to learn more about the notable Valley premiere of the musical Memphis, which is directed by Joseph Hamm. Here's our adventure. So we are here in Reedley at the River City Theater Company, and they perform at the historic Reedley Opera House. It is a beautiful building, a historic landmark. It's a great place to see a show. It's a really small space, only about 90 people can fit in there, and we're going to go inside right now and see what they're doing. So we're here today at the Reedley Opera House, a beautiful performance venue that I'm always telling people they have to go check out. And we're here today with Jonathan Wheeler and Camille Gaston, and they are the leading roles in the new production of Memphis, which is a production of the River City Theater Company in Reedley. Thank you for taking time out of your busy rehearsal schedule to be here.
Thanks for taking the drive.
So Jonathan, tell us, what is it like to perform in this space?
It's quite intimate. You get to see all the fun faces that people make. The nice thing is you can instantly tell if someone's enjoying your performance or not because there's not a lot of distance to hide it.
You're pretty close.
Yeah.
So the theater only seats about 90 people, and there's about 21 in the cast, so that's a pretty good ratio there.
Yeah, it's cool to have the balcony up there too, and to see the people up there, and all fun, different levels.
Well, you can also imagine those opera singers who used to come through 100 years ago, up there on that very same stage, entertaining the good folks of Reedley. So Memphis the Musical is a local premiere for the Valley. I know that the touring production came through a couple years ago to Fresno, but this is the first local production. Tell us a little bit about why that's important, Camille.
Well, it won Best Musical in 2010. Best
Musical Tony Award.
So it's a great show, and I like to call it the grittier version of Hairspray. It kind of reminds me of that. It kind of deals with racial issues in the South. So I think it's an important story to tell. I mean, we're still kind of dealing with things like that now in our country, and so that's why I think it's an important show to do here in the Valley.
And it's a tough show to put on. It's a big cast.
It is, yeah.
And you have to, and it's some pretty tough music. Now tell us about the musical style, Jonathan.
It's quite demanding. A lot of rhythm and blues. And in some cases we have a lot of vocal freedom, getting to move around. But even the music, the way that it was written, is actually quite fluid. They have them going all over the place. So yeah, it's got a lot of powerhouse, and then it's got some real tender moments, which is really nice. Especially in a space this small, you can actually really bring it down, and people can still hear you, which is wonderful.
So just to give us a feel for the show, tell us a little bit about what's going on. You play a character named Huey. Yeah,
so I play a character named Huey Calhoun. Happens to be walking by this bar, hears somebody singing, pops his head in, instantly has his little crush going on, hearing this girl sing, and then spends the rest of the time trying to get at her in the first couple scenes, doing everything he can to get her attention.
Which is against the law, because I'm black.
Because we're talking about, this is the early 1950s.
White. Yes, very, it's not good in Memphis.
And he becomes so love-struck, he doesn't even care about the laws. He's got one focus, and he just wants to be happy. He wants people around him to be happy. And he believes that music is the one connection to bring people together that nothing else really does, as well as music does.
So this is a musical, but it's also a kind of a play about music, because you're singers. Tell us about that. So are you both aspiring singers?
I'm an aspiring DJ.
DJ, okay.
Yeah.
And Felicia wants to hit it big.
An aspiring singer, yeah. So she starts off in this little nightclub that's owned by her brother, and at first I think she thinks that's where she's limited in singing in Memphis, but she actually dreams of being bigger than that. But she feels as though she has those limitations because she's colored or black. So Huey comes along and kind of makes that more of a possibility. He's the one that gives her the opportunity to be played on the radio that white people listen to. So, yeah.
So it's definitely, you're talking about that kind of crossover era in which music sort of started blending and in a way really was able to affect social change in itself. This is a show then, if you're a fan of rock and roll, particularly early rock and roll, there's a lot of appeal.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the audience.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun to dance to too.
Yeah.
Energetic, lots of singing, lots of dancing. Memphis came out about 10 years ago. Do you think that it's as relevant today, or maybe even more relevant than it came out? We're kind of celebrating that 10-year mark.
It's probably more relevant.
More relevant?
Yeah.
Sadly. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of racial tension going on now. I mean, a lot of things have come up that people have had to deal with. And we would think that this, what was it, almost 70 years ago? The
right,
60,
where the play is set.
Yeah, so, and we're still kind of dealing with I mean, it's not separated. It's not, we have separate fountains anymore, but still there's that, our racism is a lot subtle now, which still, it's a little bit, I don't know, that's a little bit more scarier to me than the overt racism. But I mean, it's something that we have to talk about it. We have to make it known that it's still a thing.
And there's a theme here of, in terms of music, being able to kind of unify in terms and heal.
Yeah.
Bring people together, express love for each other.
So Camille, I know that when you saw this show for the first time, you thought to yourself, I want to play Felicia someday. Is that the case?
Yeah, it's kind of been a dream role of mine.
So when you saw that Ridley was doing it,
yeah, I said, hell yeah, I want to do it. I think those are my exact words.
sounds good. And how about you, Jonathan?
I said if Camille's in, I'm in.
All right.
Yeah.
Make a pitch for people to come to Ridley to see this show.
Oh, man. All right, elevator pitch. Let's see. Great music, great vocals, fantastic love story, great exposure of love conquering hate, and yeah, that's as fast as I can go on that.
Anything to add?
Points.
Jonathan's great in it.
It won the Tony,
Awesome.
so you can.
It won the Tony, Best Musical,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good story.
Yeah.
It'll make you
Bring tissues.
feel, it'll give you the feels. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. I'm really looking forward to it. It'll
Yeah,
be fun to
thank
see it.
you.
When can people see it?
Oh. We open
on the 6th.
July 6th through July 29th. So all weekends in July we'll be here.
If you're interested in learning more about Memphis the Musical, visit RidleyRiverCityTheater.org. To see an entire rehearsal performance from Memphis, visit MunroReview.com. Now let's welcome my in-studio guests. The musical Fun Home has been one of the most anticipated local productions of the year, and I'm lucky enough to bring you the 3 actors who play the pivotal character of Allison at different stages in her life. Please welcome Haley White, Thani Brant, and Novi Alexander. Thank you for being here. I know this is a big week for you. The way we're taping this show is actually tomorrow is your opening night, so we really appreciate you coming down. So you are all playing the same character, and that's pretty uncommon, wouldn't you say? What do you think, Thani?
I think in the past couple of years, it's become a little more common. I think a nod to this show, especially. This year we see like the Donna Summer musical that has 3 versions of Donna Summer. But I think it's a really interesting way to explore a character as they grow up and kind of become their fullest self.
And by the way, I introduced you on the teleprompter in a certain order, but you're not sitting in that order. So this is Thani, this is Haley, and this is Novi. And why don't we start out by you telling us how old is your character? How old is Allison? So Thani.
Yeah, so I play medium Allison. She's in her freshman year of college, so I'd say she's 18, 19 years old, which is same age as me.
Okay. And Haley?
I very explicitly say that I'm 43 in the show, one of my lines. So she's 43, and I think that's right about the age she lost her father when he was about 43.
Okay.
So.
And the point of view of the show then is from this older character who is remembering back, so it's a lot of flashbacks, a lot of kind of jumps in time.
Yep, and it's really cool for the audience, I think, because they get to see the young person experiencing the actual event and then me experiencing the memory. So they get to see 2 things at once.
And so Novi, how old is your character?
Small Allison is 9 years old.
Okay, okay. And so what you recount then, or you're kind of acting out older Allison's memories of growing up in this funeral home. And for a lot of people, they don't realize that the title of Fun Home actually comes from the fact it's a funeral home.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that funeral home, Novi. What kind of place is it?
Well, It's for the kids. It's kind of the funeral home is seen by the view of the kids, so it's just kind of like they don't know anything else, so it's their normal, and so they just like play around and clean the coffins as instructed by their dad.
So it isn't really a scary place or a morbid place. It's just where their dad happens to work. It's like the family business. Yeah. So, Thani, tell us a little bit about what happens in the show. I know that very early on we discover some pretty emotional facts about this family.
Yeah, so the show basically starts off, Allison says that she and her father were both gay and her father killed himself. And so the show is basically Allison kind of combing through her life and memories that she has of herself in different stages, and her relationship with her father, and kind of realizing all the things that she thought were so different about them were really alike, and kind of healing through that process.
So Haley, why don't you tell us a little bit about this father? It's a very important role in the show. Yes. How does adult Haley remember
Bruce
her
Bechtel?
father?
He's a lot of things, I think. He's volatile and he's got a lot of angst, but he's also trying to be the best father he can. So that's sort of the whole theme of the play, is she's remembering all these terrible things that I think she's carried with her for so long, but she's also starting to let herself remember some of the more lovable, fun, light moments with him, and that's what she's starting to say, okay, I think moving forward, I can choose to remember these instead of some of the darker memories that we have, and I think that's a lesson everybody can learn and take from the play.
So one of the intriguing things about Fun Home is it's actually about a real person. So Allison Bechtel is a famous graphic artist and novelist, and that's what this show was based on. Novi, tell us, had you ever done very much drawing or illustrating before, and did you have to learn kind of how to at least pretend that you were doing that up on stage?
Well, when I was little, of course, I was very into drawing, but then musical theater. And so, yeah, I was into drawing when I was little, but right now in the play, I just kind of draw stick figures because it's the easiest thing to do.
How about you, Thani?
I have been known for a great doodle, an endless flower, but in the show I mostly end up drawing a cube because it seems like the easiest thing to draw.
And the real Allison told her story through this graphic novel, and then what the play, which is a musical, does is tells it through the story and the songs. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the songs. Now, Novi, you're going to actually perform something for us later in the show in just a few minutes, and that song is called Ring of Keys. Tell us about that. Set that up for us.
Well, it's set in a diner with her father Bruce, and she notices this woman coming in. She's a delivery woman. She has a ring of keys on her, and she is, as described by adult Allison, an old school butch. And so she's just kind of like taken aback by like her whole persona, and she's like, whoa, I've never seen that before. And the rest is in the song. So
this is a real pivotal moment for young Allison. She's really starting to discover some things about herself.
Yeah.
Now, Thani, you sing a song that directly relates to your character's college experience.
Yeah,
and we're actually you're going to be able to hear that in a special clip on the Munro Review website. We're going to film it also today. So tell us about that song.
Yeah, so I sing a song called Changing My Major. I'd say it's one of the more lighthearted moments in the show. Basically, Allison has just had her first sexual experience with a woman, and it totally just takes her aback, as Novi said, and just it's this kind of rolling monologue of all the different realizations that she's having in this moment when she wakes up and there's a woman next to her. And it's this really just vulnerable, intimate song, a little look into her
And
mind.
it's a really fun moment and a great moment for an actor because you get to capture that sense of first love, of excitement, and sort of ask the audience to kind of take that ride.
For sure. And very early in the process, our director, Jay Daniel, just talked to me about what those moments were when she makes these discoveries and kind of how to bring that into the performance physically and vocally, and really paying attention to the lyric written by the amazing Lisa Cron.
So Haley, we have time for probably one more question, and I wanted to ask you about this idea of memory, because I know that's a prominent theme in the play. It's what J. Daniel Herring, who's your director, is really kind honed in on. Tell us about that, and tell us about kind of that personal connection for you.
The idea of memory in the play, so you're seeing everything through her eyes, and so even down to our lighting design and the transitions, everything you can see when a memory hits her, when she's forcing a memory out and doesn't want to think about it. So it's all connected to that. And for me, it's been a really cathartic process because I lost my mom a year ago, and we had kind of a very similar relationship. And getting to be like a step away from my grief, reliving her grief, and getting her healing, that close but also that far away has just been really lovely. And I know there's other people in the cast and crew who have had similar losses in recent years who I'm imagining are having similar processes where it's just been such a healing experience. And I really think the audience can have that kind of reaction to it too, is why I think everybody should come. Even though when you pitch it, you're pitching suicide and all this stuff that sounds
This is not your usual musical, but that's okay.
Yeah,
it's a way that music can really get to the heart of a really intense and meaningful story.
Yeah.
So tell us when Fun Home plays. Because of our taping schedule, we will have already had your first weekend, but there will be 2 more weekends to go.
And we've got 10 shows in that. So Thursday through Sunday, and we've got Saturday matinees happening too, so you've got lots of chances. Okay,
so your closing date is July 15th. So by the time this show airs, you'll still have 10 chances to see the show. Yep. So, well, great. Well, I know that people are really looking forward to this, and it is a hot ticket, I'm sure. So
we're happy to have it.
I am looking forward to it. All right, and then I guess I can ask Novi, will you stick around for a performance?
I guess.
You guess. Well, we kind of already got all set up. So. But first, before we do that, we're going to do another regular feature of the show, The List, and I'll just kind of cruise through that, and then you can sing. If it's summer, it must be time for Summer Arts, which is back at Fresno State for a 2nd year. This month-long festival features lots of public performances and lectures, including dance, classical music, comedy, photography, and more. The festival is scheduled to begin July 2nd, and it will continue through July 28th. I encourage you to go to csusummerarts.org for the full schedule. Now, we've just devoted this whole show to theater, and there's a lot more ahead. Bring It On, the musical, opens July 19th at the Selma Arts Center. Into the Woods opens that same night at Roger Rocca's Dinner Theater. On the next night, July 20th, Stageworks Fresno opens Urinetown. Yes, that's going to be a very busy weekend. And on July 27th, Center Stage Clovis Community Theater opens The Little Mermaid. Lots of musicals in the summer. On last month's show, we gave you a sneak peek at the Fresno Art Museum's new round of exhibitions, which opened July 14th. These include a show titled Master Weaver by Kay Samakachi, the museum's Distinguished Woman Artist for 2018. There's also an exhibition from photographer Ernest Lowe titled Black Migrants to the Central Valley. Some really interesting things to check out at the museum. That's it for the list. We're going to take a short break, but when we return, a performance by Novi Alexander from Stagework Fresno's Fun Home. In Fun Home, one of the most beautiful songs is performed by young Allison, who sings a tune about her sexual awakening. Here's Novi Alexander to perform Ring of Keys.
You didn't notice her at first, but I saw her the moment she came in. She was a delivery woman. She came in with a handcart full of packages. She was an old school butch.
Someone just came in the door, like no one I ever saw before. I feel I don't know where you came from. I wish I did. I feel so dumb. I feel your swagger and your bearing and the just right clothes you're wearing, your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots and your keys. Oh, your ring of keys. I thought it was supposed to be wrong, but you seem okay with being strong. I want to. You're so. It's probably conceited to say, but I think we're alike in a certain way. Your swagger and your bearing and the just right clothes you're wearing, your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots and your keys. Oh, your ring of keys. Do you feel my heart saying hi? In this whole luncheonette, why am I the only one who sees you're beautiful? No, I mean handsome. Your swagger and your bearing and the just right clothes you're wearing, your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots and your keys. Oh, your ring of keys. I know you. I know you. I know you.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, and thank you to Terry Lewis on keyboards. That wraps it up for this month's episode of the Munro Review. Come on over, guys. Be sure to keep up online at munroreview.com. A big thank you to our volunteer crew, and a thank you to all our guests, Haley White, Thani Brant, Novi Alexander from Stageworks Fresno's Fun Home, along with Terry, and to the cast of Memphis the Musical and Reedley. We'll see you next time.